Battlefield 2042 and DICE just released a video and blog detailing some big upcoming changes and additions to the game. From how specialists look, to altering their voice lines, gameplay, animation improvements, map adjustments and more. So we're going to take a look at everything that they said now and what it could mean for the game. It's a bit of a different style of video for DICE. We haven't had anything near this level of communication since 2042 released really, but it's interesting to see that they are back in the studio now and there's a lot of information on certain topics, but they do leave some other important topics vague. But the key headlines here are maps, experiences and modes, core gameplay relating to gunplay and specialists, and new content. For maps, it mentions that with the new maps going forward, they intend to bring back those classic Battlefield experiences, but also look back at the maps that they released with the game and adjusting and changing those too. For experiences and modes, they talked about adding variety and depth. Core gameplay goes into gunplay, specialists and soldier movement, and for new content, it's how it needs to change and adapt based on feedback from players. I wanted to start with this though. They released a clip of new voice lines being recorded for the specialists, Angel before and after, insinuating I think that they're changing all of the voice lines for the specialists to give them a grittier tone which would fit better into the lore of the game. Have a quick listen to that now.
Look at this serious team, hey? Let's have fun. You need supplies? I'm your man.
They're also changing how the specialists look and provided an example of that here with McKay and Boris. Both of them looking a bit more rough around the edges, dirt on their clothes. Boris looks a bit younger, I would say, and McKay has grown the Walter White Breaking Bad goatee. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and change all of the specialists, how they look, and also their voice lines. More importantly, they did talk about specialists and how they've heard feedback on them in terms of gameplay, and this is what was stated in relation to that. The team is still very focused on them, but they're not in the space where they can share the final plan. I'll let you have a listen to what Ryan said here in regards to this.
You know, when it comes to we're bringing these changes and improvements to the gameplay side of our specialists, I mean, this is something the team is still very focused on. We're just not yet in the space where we can share the final plan. You know, as we shared earlier this year, you know, we set out on the task of finding ways to better mesh these into our core gameplay loops, you know, better communicating how these fit into the class structure of 2042, which was always our intent. The things that are stopping us from moving, you know, doing these changes sooner is to making sure that we can still deliver the key content that our players need and address all the other changes that you need to make. We know that what we have in the game today can be improved. You know, we've taken the expectations that our players have and they've shared with us, you know, and we want to make sure that we can deliver on that at the best possible quality. I mean, we're not walking away from specialists. They're a key part of 2042, but we need to make sure we get it right and we can deliver to our players what they deserve.
So basically they are changing them, but they're not ready to talk about how they're doing that yet. I think it would have been great if they did though. Perhaps just putting out a design goal and following through with it would be a good call. New content overall with guns, gadgets, vehicles, but more of a focus on gunplay and balance across the board. But they are working on adding cherry-picked classic weapons from Portal and reworking them to be put in 2042 all-out warfare with proper plus systems. I think that's a good idea. I would have thought they'd have done that already by now, but obviously taking a bit longer than expected. I'd love to see the XM8, M16. I think a lot of those Bad Company 2 and BF3 weapons just make sense in 2042, so the more the merrier. The new map for Season 1 starting in June is said to be very different from those 7 at launch with a ton of verticality, and it's set in Canada. Late in Season 1, we'll see a new version of Kaleidoscope replacing the old one, adding more cover and forward operating bases at key locations like objectives and flanking lanes. They also stated that a lot of these new props and changes are destructible compared to the existing assets in the game. So on this map essentially, some new points of interest, more cover and raised terrain. Renewal was also shown, although they did say that it's not as far along on the timeline as Kaleidoscope, but it will release in Season 2. But they did show some before and after video. A1 and A2 have been cut entirely from the map and much more cover added at the objectives from sandbags, HESCOs and concrete walls. Lots of containers there too, line of sight blockers, adjustments to terrain and that kind of stuff. At the big Senesco building, all of those empty corridors will now have cover in them and be more defensible positions. DICE said that they are unshackling themselves from the 128 player game design. Conquest will stay as 128 on next gen, but they are scaling down all of the new maps going forward, but still keeping them as 128 to make them more intense and less walking from A to B with no cover. Breakthrough, as we've already experienced, has dropped down to 64 players permanently. Interestingly, they acknowledged that Hazard Zone didn't gain the traction that they wanted to, and they won't focus on it anymore with the new maps, instead looking squarely at Conquest and Breakthrough. So it appears that Hazard Zone is done and won't be supported or updated anymore. Animations for soldiers are being updated too, disconnecting the aiming from the turning. It looks more natural and kind of reminds me of the Battlefront 2 system here, and also the running animations when they're sprinting and leaning into the direction, a bit more predictable, reminds me of Battlefield 4. Team play was mentioned too, playing together and staying in squads, how to make building a squad easier, how to find friends easier, some UI improvements coming there. Performance thankfully was talked about. They said that it's been a pretty big focus for their technology teams and admitted that performance has been a big issue and the game dropping below theirs and our expectations when playing on recommended and high spec machines. Ryan said that it's going to be an ongoing long-term battle, but the team is committed to improving it and keep pushing it and getting it better down the line. It's weird that they just focus this on PC though, because I haven't really played the game on console, but I do see people complaining that console does have stutters and lower frame rates, so fingers crossed they look at that too. Lars then went into a little bit of detail about the upcoming 4 seasons worth of content, committing to more weekly missions, new featured experiences, new community spotlights. Nothing else was mentioned about season 1, but there will be more very soon, and I'd expect a blog or trailer imminently. Ryan then wrapped up with a message to the community and players directly, saying that they're reaffirming their commitment to BF 2042 and that although they've done a ton of updates already to the game, they know that it's not enough and they need to keep doing more. He also name dropped all of the studios working on the game now too and said thanks for sticking with the game. And that's all really. I was surprised that they didn't really mention Portal at all apart from the guns that are coming from Portal and being added to the main game. That doesn't bode very well for Portal in my opinion. I think they had such a big opportunity there and I would love to see more, but based on this it appears that maybe we won't get anything major for Portal. Kind of sad, I'm making an assumption there, I know, but certainly seems that way. And do let me know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. I think this would have been a good opportunity though to actually show some of the new content, but I assume that there will be a separate update soon for that. Also, the thing about specialist gameplay was a bit odd and I'd have preferred if they were more transparent with that and said exactly what they're going to do, because I know that a lot of people in the community are looking for that. But with that said, thank you for watching guys. If you enjoyed the vid, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe if you're new, and I'm just going to play the final message that Ryan said in the video here because I think some of you guys might want to hear it and just see what he had to say.
But before we go, we want to hear from Ryan one last time, because I know you wanted to talk to the players directly.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Lars and I are here today, and we're really grateful to be able to represent the entire Battlefield team and reaffirm our commitment to Battlefield 2042. The team has made a ton of updates to this game, but we know it's not enough, and we know we need to keep doing more. So on behalf of the team at Ripple Effect, EA Gothenburg, our new studio in Seattle, DICE, and all of the Battlefielders across EA, we just want you to know that we are here. So thank you for sticking with us. And to steal a line from my good friend Lars here, we'll see you on the battlefield.
For more, head over to the Battlefield website, and we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.